So I went to start doing my outline for my podcast. It will now be next week's podcast because when I went to get the review, because you guys know I like to read reviews at the beginning of the podcast, the excitement and enthusiasm and just pure joy that was in this review made me completely revamp my plan. And so I'm going to read this review to you after the introduction. Not so much because it's about me, because it's not, it's about God, but because I want you to hear her joy. And then we're going to talk about why she nailed it and how come we should feel the same excitement that she feels, not just about birth, but about all things related to womanhood, because God made us to be his women, and it is not something to dread, and it is not something to think is going to be miserable, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to put some joy back into being a woman. Let's go. Okay, so this whole episode is about this review. I am going to read it to you. It is long, but it is so, so good. And it is going to make you happy. It's going to give you joy like it did me. And then we're going to talk about it because I want you to have the same joy that this sweet mama does. Now, her name on here is Kezia Canfield. I don't know if that is her actual name or if that's just a screen name. Honestly, doesn't matter. She knows who she is. The title is What a Blessing in My Life. Okay, ready? It says, I am 20 years old and currently 32 weeks pregnant with my first of hopefully, and Lord willing, many, many, many babies. I started listening to this podcast at around 12 weeks, then called Your Birth God's Way, when my sister-in-law recommended it to me. My husband and I are taking an online birth course, not Lori's, unfortunately, as I bought this one before I knew about hers, and also going through some birth prep education with our home birth midwives. But I have learned by far, without a shadow of a doubt, the most from Lori's podcast. I have been binging it through most of my pregnancy and can now say that I have listened to every single episode. I think you may be the only one on earth, but I don't know. I'll probably go back and re-listen to them all during my next pregnancy. God has used Lori's podcast in my life to strengthen my faith in him in the way he designed and created me so much. Through Lori's strong godly perspective and her frequent reading of scripture in her episodes, my faith and trust in our all-knowing creator has grown tremendously. Before listening, I looked ahead at birth with reasonable confidence, knowing that I was created for this and that so many women had done it before me, but still with some apprehension. I'm now looking forward to our birth with absolutely zero fear. That was in all caps with 5 exclamation points after it. This is where the excitement comes in. She said, I am so excited to give birth to my precious baby and looking forward to it with so much joy and peace. I can't wait to see what God does through my body to bring this precious little one earthside, and I'm ecstatic to get to meet him or her for the first time. I'm also joyfully looking forward to our breastfeeding journey and hope to breastfeed well past a year. Aside from being an incredibly faith-building tool, Lori's podcast is an overflowing wealth of practical knowledge, and I've learned so much from her. She is easy to listen to and learn from, as she has a plethora of medical knowledge and yet does an excellent job of relaying that knowledge in an easy to understand way to the average Joe like me. I learned a ton from listening to her, even including some things that I wish I had known before I got pregnant. Lori's podcast is an incredible resource to anyone going through trying to conceive, pregnancy, postpartum, their own health journey, or even just someone curious to learn more about God's design for our bodies. I wish every single woman in any of these stages knew about it and listened with open ears and an open mind. I have shared it with all the other young mamas in my life, and it seems like every time I think I've covered everyone, God brings another fellow mama to mind that I could share it with. I'm so thankful for the huge vault of episodes on all things pregnancy that Lori has done, and I'm excited for the new direction that she's taken with the podcast, focusing on health in a broader sense. I have learned some fascinating things from the few episodes of the new podcast already. I'm so glad her content will still be applicable to me well past the end of pregnancy. I'm also hoping that I can get my own mama to start listening, as a lot of the things that Lori has been covering recently are the things she struggles with. Thank you so much for all the time and effort that you pour into sharing your knowledge and encouragement with us. God has used you to bless me tremendously. Please don't stop doing what you're doing. You have blessed me tremendously, and now you're going to be blessing many, many other women tremendously. And all those mamas who you have referred to listen to this podcast and be like, no way, they're talking about her, because your enthusiasm is contagious. And I want to talk about this because, y'all, the world has sold us a bill of goods that has made us think that it's dreadful to be a woman. You know, she said in her review that she's so excited to give birth. How many of you can say that you were so excited to actually give birth? I mean, yeah, you wanted to meet your baby and all that, but were you so excited for the birth process, or were you a little afraid of it? See, the enemy has stolen what God meant to be joyful. And I want to use Kezia, I don't know how you say it, her enthusiasm to help you have some joy in your life. And I know you're not all in the baby having phase. Some of you are past that. Some of you are not there yet. It doesn't honestly matter. There is so much good about being a woman, but we've been told that it's all something to dread. It is not. I mean, think about it. From puberty, we've been told to dread getting our period, dread having babies, dread menopause, dread getting old. And y'all, we bought it. We let the enemy steal the joy from every stage of being a woman. Today, we're going to start to reverse that. I know I don't have the whole world listening, but I do have you listening. And the change starts with you. The change starts with people like Kezia. I wish I knew for sure I was saying her name right. I apologize if I'm messing it up. But the change starts with this change in attitude, the change in an approach to what it means to be a woman. Rather than it being something to dread, it being something to celebrate. You can change your outlook. You can talk to your daughters and to your friends. It's time we honored God's design for women's bodies instead of lamenting that He made us women. Feminism sold us a bill of goods that conditioned us to think that we can do anything. And yeah, I guess we can, but should we? Have we sold ourselves short in essentially every way by trying to be men and get away from what it means to be a woman rather than embracing the beauty of being a woman? There's a great book I read about this, I don't know, probably 20 something years ago, called Choices. I'll link it down to the description. But one of the things she talks about in that book so thoroughly is about how that lie was sold to us and how it has not served us well at all. Today, I want to briefly talk about the three phases of womanhood, the three main phases, I should say, of womanhood, and why you should celebrate them and not dread them as a Christian woman who is fearfully and wonderfully made. I really want to accentuate that. You are wonderfully made. Let's first start talking about menarche, and that's when your period first starts, okay? Even if you've been listening to me a while, and even if I know most of you are long past having your first period, I would venture to say that many of you still speak about your period in such a way that it is negative. It is something to dread. And that will bleed over, no pun intended, into your daughter's attitude towards her first period if she hasn't had it yet. See, it is all about our attitude. The first thing we need to think about, though, is how menarche is coming too soon in our culture. We really need to work hard as mamas to keep our daughters, if we can, from entering puberty so early. It used to not hit nearly as early as it does now. Now the average age is somewhere around 12 years old. It used to be more like the late teens. Something is causing it to be earlier. We don't fully know what it is. It's probably multifactorial, but there's theories about the plastics, how we're exposed to so many microplastics. There's theories about hormones coming into our bodies from various places, whether it be our water or our food. There's all kinds of places that it could be coming from, but what you can do as a mama is to do all that you can to get your daughter's diet as clean as you can and to keep her active and healthy so that menarche is pushed off, not because it's dreadful, but because of the potential impact of having it so early, okay? But when it does come, as it certainly will, why do we lament it? Is it a little scary when we see that first blood as a little girl? Well, yeah, of course. Remember that scene from the movie My Girl back in, I guess, the 90s? I mean, she was in the bathroom screaming, "I'm hemorrhaging." I mean, I always remember that scene. But beyond that first shock of like, whoa, what is that? This is a time to be celebrated. God created our menstrual cycle as a necessary part of bearing children. Every single month of our reproductive lives, God made our bodies to go through a hormonal and physical cycle so that our bodies can support a baby if it is conceived when the time comes. Then, if a baby isn't conceived, which obviously most cycles it's not, then the cycle starts over and we bleed, and then we experience a cleansing process through that bleeding to start the cycle again. Can it be inconvenient? Well, sure. But we live in a time when our cycles aren't nearly as inconvenient as they used to be. Used to, women were shunned from society. They weren't allowed to be out at all. They were caused to be completely shut in during that time. We don't live during that time. We have products to make it very manageable. Now, many of them are attacking our health. And in an episode coming up soon, we're going to talk about that because some of them are causing our cycles to be long and painful and have heavy bleeding. Our periods should not be that way. But until then, just think about how good it is that we live in a time when you can go out and live because of these conveniences that we have now. We're not shut in basically, a week or 3 or 4 days out of the month. Our cycles, are also a blessing because they are a monthly gauge of our health. See, if your cycles don't happen at all, it's a sign something's wrong for you to work on. If they're too frequent or too infrequent, it's a sign that something's wrong that you can work on. If they're too heavy, if they're too painful, all of these things are signs that there's something that can be improved, something that can be worked on. We get it every single month. Men don't have that, but we do. We get a message from our body every single month about what work needs to be done. But do we listen to it? God put it there for our benefit. Do we listen? We should. It's one of the things we do during the one-on-one coaching that I offer. We look at your cycles to see what they're telling us. We look at cycles to see what impact they are having on our bodies, and we look at what things are impacting our cycles so that then we can work on them, and the improvements can be felt in other places too, because everything is tied together. We're not just separate systems. Everything is tied together. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about childbirth. We live in a time when most girls haven't seen anyone give birth until they give birth. And so that leads to fear of the unknown. That's no surprise to you. You know that already. That's probably a lot of the reason why you're here, because you're trying to learn what you didn't already know. Even if you want babies, you've probably felt a little bit of this dread or fear. It's just the way it is for most of us. It seems that the only stories that we ever hear anywhere are the scary ones, not the beautiful ones. And it makes me think about, I hear people often talk about or lament or almost be ugly about how many Instagram stories you see of beautiful home births and how you don't ever see the bad ones. And all I can think of is, don't we see enough scary stuff about birth as it is? Don't we hear enough scary stuff? Isn't it okay to have some beautiful births? Isn't that okay? Let's have some more of those. It's just all about perspective, and so many people are not seeing this clearly. Y'all, I know how hard it is to know if something being sold to you online is worth anything these days, because there is so much counterfeit junk floating around. And beyond that, it seems like everybody has a course to sell you. So I want to help you make an informed decision about your childbirth education the same way I want you to make informed decisions about everything in your maternity care. That's why, for a limited time, I'm giving you free access to the first module of my Christian childbirth course. You can see it for yourself for free for a whole week for absolutely no charge. And you don't even need to enter in a credit card number. The first module is going to give you a look at the underpinnings of the whole course, which is God, the creator of everything, including the creator of pregnancy and the birth process. He made it. So we should look to him for our guidance. And the first module lays the foundation for that. If you're not familiar with me, I'm Lori Morris, and I'm a certified nurse midwife. I used to be all medical, and I worked in the medicalized maternity care system. But with time, I saw the truth, and I became a midwife who attends home births and who had all her babies outside of that system. That gives me a unique perspective because I've been on both sides. I can help you understand what happens on the medical side while fully preparing you for the natural side, including how to navigate decisions and interventions while also wrapping you in Scripture to remind you of God's truth, that you are made to do this no matter what the world says. There is no other course out there like this one, and I want you to see it for yourself. Go to go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course free trial and get signed up today. Again, that's go.yourbirthgodsway.com/course free trial. So since girls don't know what birth looks like and all they're getting is the scary stories of hospital birth, they learn to dread having babies. But girls, listen to me. Having babies is one of the best, most empowering things that we do as women when it is done God's way. When we allow the process to be unaltered by man's wisdom, so-called wisdom, I'm doing air quotes with my fingers. When we allow the cocktail of hormones to flow beautifully the way God orchestrated, when we allow the body to bring the baby in its own time without unneeded intervention, when we trust that God has made this baby from the beginning and that God will bring this baby when it's time, why do we doubt Him when He has sustained all of humanity up until now? Why do we doubt that somehow your baby is going to be the one that can't come unless you're induced? He hasn't forgotten you. He's made your baby completely up to this point. He has not forgotten that baby. Why do we not trust Him? When we allow a baby to be with its mama after birth in calmness and peace, so that they can start their lives together without bright lights, without strangers, without loud noises. That is something to be excited about. Birth is something to be excited about. There is nothing in the world as beautiful and empowering as giving birth, and it is being stolen from women every day. But it doesn't have to be. When you get excited about it like this reviewer did, you take back power that God gave you and you thrive in His design. Do not let the enemy steal this joy of this experience. It's just a travesty. How many women will never get to experience what God meant for them to experience so that they could be powerful and stronger and have confidence? It's been stolen from them. And it didn't have to be that way. And it doesn't have to go perfectly for you to have this joy either. I'm not saying that your birth is going to be perfect. It's not going to have any hiccups. That's not what I'm saying at all. It doesn't have to be perfect to have that joy, because when you do things God's way and you are informed about His design for you and you work with it, you can rest knowing that you have done everything that you can for things to go well. If you end up being someone that truly needs some intervention, then you don't have to be traumatized by it. No, you can appreciate the help God gives and walk away with an experience that is still very much empowering and very joyful, not regretful. Just go back and listen to episode 132 to hear the proof of what I just told you in the story of one of my birth clients, because it did not go anywhere near her plan. And she's walking today. I just saw her yesterday, actually. She has got her head held high, and she thinks that her birth went exactly like it needed to. She's not traumatized. She is joyful, and you can be too. Birth is hard, but you can do hard things. You can. And when you skip the hard, you miss the beautiful. The hard is what empowers you, because you have no choice but to surrender to God and to trust Him to carry you through this process that He designed perfectly. Your faith in who He is, in His love for you and His love for your baby, will grow in ways that are awe-inspiring. Don't dread having babies. If you've been dreading it, it's time for you to realize that fear and dread are not from God, but they're from the enemy. It's time to say, "Get behind me, Satan," and to walk confidently into a process that God made to work well. get the information about how to enable that to happen in this fallen world, either through my course perhaps, or maybe even by working one-on-one with me through preconception and prenatal coaching, so that you can know for sure that you are as informed, healthy, and prepared as you can possibly be, so that you can learn how to know the truth from the lies and see straight through it, so your experience can be what God designed it to be. I hope that helped you get excited about childbirth. Now let's move on to the last stage of womanhood, that's menopause. We dread menarche, for sure. We dread childbirth, for sure. We really dread menopause. We've been told it's horrible and it's terrible, and for some it is, but is that God's doing? It's kind of like periods. In the teen years, they're seen as being something that's awful, but that's not God's doing either. That's not how He made it. And again, I'm going to be addressing that in a future episode, so be watching. But, it's kind of like childbirth also. Childbirth can be awful, but not because that's how God made it. Man's, again, quote, wisdom has made it awful for many, but that's not how He made it. He made it to be beautiful. Menopause can be awful, but not because that's how God made it. He made our hormones and our body to naturally change at the time that we are no longer able to have babies. We don't need it anymore. So He made it to change. He made certain things to stop producing as much, and He made other things to start producing more. And our bodies change and they adjust. But adjustments are just that. They're adjustments. It's not something to dread. When we have spent the years leading up to menopause, doing the things that you need to do that we talk about on this podcast all the time, then this transition can be smooth and beautiful. When you have taken care of your body so it can function the way that He made it to function, it doesn't have to be awful. We can relish that we're no longer having periods, which are beautiful, as we discussed. But if our body is done having babies, there's no need for it anymore. So it's something that we don't have to manage anymore. It's okay for it to stop. But here's the thing, just like with all the other phases, our lifestyle and nutrition choices are what is going to set the tone for this time. If we are unhealthy underneath, whether we know it or not, it's going to be harder than it has to be. Did you know that not all cultures have the epidemic of hot flashes and mood swings and insomnia that we do? It is connected to our culture and our lifestyle, not just inherent misery. So we can't be surprised when the transition isn't what it ought to be if we haven't done the work to take care of our bodies leading up to this time. And that's why I'm so glad you're here, so that you can do that work and so that you can make sure that you're healthy, so that you can embrace this beautiful time of life like all the others. I want you to be healthy so that you can celebrate menopause the same way that you have the other parts of being a woman. God made women special and beautiful. He gave us work to do that only we can do. He chose us to do this work. He gave us blessings that only we get to have. Let's embrace them. Let's celebrate them rather than dreading them and letting the enemy steal our joy. Let's enjoy the beauty of being a woman and not dread what God created to be beautiful. And while I want this to be your reality, I know that for many of you, it is going to be hard. I know that this reality isn't yours because our culture has been so ingrained into your being that you're paying the price of a lifetime of going with the flow. But that flow, again, no pun intended, that flow has made you unhealthy. And that's why I coach women like you one-on-one, so that you can learn how to get your body back to what God meant for it to be. Sure, you can piece it together. You can watch a YouTube video here, maybe a couple IG posts there. But without accountability, it's likely to fall flat. My clients are getting rapid, lasting results because we are doing that hard work to identify their root causes and then address them directly. We're not guessing. We're doing the work to make sure we're aiming at the right target. And there's the piece of support and accountability that you can't find elsewhere, and it is paying off. Because of the level of attention and the level of access that I give my clients, I only take a limited number. So if you're ready to get serious, if you're tired of not being able to embrace being a woman, if you're tired of all the things seeming to go wrong, if you're ready to be healthy, then don't wait around. My roster is filling up. And again, I give so much time and access that I can't take too many because then I won't be able to serve the ones that I do have well. I want to be by your side. I want to help you take the next best step so that you're feeling like a new person come 2026, which by the way is not far away at all. If this sounds like what you need, go to morriswellnessservices.com/application to sign up for a free discovery call with me so we can see if we're a good fit. It is so much fun to help women like you see real, measurable change and to see it fast. And I can't wait to have you have that same fun, to help you have that same fun. So go to that website, morriswellnessservices.com/application, if that sounds like what you need. And then meet me back here next week for a new episode, the one that you would have gotten had I not come across this review that got me so excited. See you then.